Welcome back to another episode of the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast. This is episode 77. It's a pleasure to have my guest on today's show, Izubee Charles. Izubee, how's it going, my man?
I'm doing good, Joey. How's everything with you, man?
Everything's been amazing. We're actually here in Miami, Florida. Sunny Florida this weekend. Haven't been back to Florida in a few months, but man, is it hot out here.
I know. I mean, we're getting lucky right now. We're beating the rain and sunny right now, getting a little cloudy, but, you know, everything's looking good out here.
Yeah, so before we get into the show, I kind of want the listeners and the viewers to kind of get to know who you are, a little bit about yourself, and so tell everyone who Izubee Charles is and kind of take it from there.
So I'm originally from Fort Myers, Florida, same hometown as Joey. We've known each other since high school, kind of college, and been friends since then. Currently, I am a sports reporter for the University of Miami. I cover all the athletics, so football, basketball, baseball, soccer, you name it. I'm there covering games, press conferences, recruitment, all that good stuff. So been doing that for a year and a half now. This is my second year. Previously, I used to work for USA Today, and now I'm doing this in Miami. I couldn't get any luckier, in the position I am now so early in my career, working for such a big university. It's been awesome so far.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so glad people will get to hear your story today, because I've known you for so many years now, just kind of seeing you grow throughout your career. We actually did a few things when we were both in college. I was at University of Florida, you were at FGCU working for USA Today. We got the chance to cover the Rocket Mortgage college basketball tournament. That was a lot of fun there. But so kind of talk about how you got to the Miami Hurricanes, kind of talk about how you got to Miami, just kind of take it from there.
So I worked for, like I said, USA Today for about a year during my senior year in college, and it was weird. So I graduated on May 7th, and I believe like May 14th or May 15th, like a week and a half later, I got a DM from my boss. So the company I work for is called On3. It's a big, upcoming company, recruiting, team coverage, all that stuff. So he reaches out to me, and he's like, hey, I've seen what you do, you've done for USA Today. Would you be interested in coming working full time for the University of Miami? And I was like, this is crazy. I graduated a week ago, and then I'm getting a random DM from a guy I never met. I thought it was fake at first, and then I was like, all right, let me just take this opportunity. I drive down here, I have lunch with him. He interviews 70 other people, and then he's like, you're the only guy that I really like. Do you want to, accept this position? And I was like, let's do it. So I come down here, I start working. I go from covering high school to college athletics, which was a complete change for me, going from talking to high school kids, and then I'm face to face with Mario Cristobal my first day at work, and I'm just this is surreal, this is crazy. A month ago I was covering a triathlon in Naples, and now I'm at the University of Miami, a school that I watched growing up and all that good stuff. So it's been crazy, but just embracing everything, just trying to take everything in the moment and just enjoy it while I can, because you never know when something's going to happen, something may change or another opportunity may present itself, but just enjoying the moment right now with everything.
I love how you said you never know what is going to happen. You don't know what's going to come next, especially in the sports world, with the sports news, with the 24-hour news cycle, and now you're kind of getting a chance to see what the Miami Hurricanes are made of, working for their college football, working as a reporter for the entire athletics. So, covering from basketball to baseball to football, what are some of the highs and lows of being a sports reporter throughout the season? Because at one point of the year you have football, then you have basketball, then you have baseball. So kind of talk about, what that's like for you.
So it's kind of interesting because some of the sports kind of intertwine. So towards the tail end of football, we'll start basketball picking up, so you're bouncing back and forth. Towards the tail end of basketball, you have baseball picking up. But just between all of it, I would say there aren't really many lows. I would say the only lows is obviously we saw what happened with the Georgia Tech Miami game.
Yeah.
With that big blunder at the end of the game. I was kind of talking about it before we got on. It's just so I don't know if people when you're in a press box, you kind of have to leave a minute or two before the game ends to try to get to the press area and stuff like that. So I'm leaving the press box, and Miami's up. I think a minute 40 seconds left, first down. So I'm like, all right, this is in the bag. As I'm walking out the stadium, I hear screams and shrieks, and I'm just like, what's going on? I walk back in the stadium, I see Georgia Tech kicking an extra point to win the game. I was like, this is crazy. And then you have to talk to the people after. I would say those are the lows, where it's obviously people don't want to talk about the situation, but it's your job. You have to report the news, good or bad. You have to let the people know what's happening. So those are the kind of the lows. And then the highs are when the team's winning, you getting to meet these guys. One person or a coach that I love at Miami is Coach Jim Larinaga. He's the nicest, most welcoming, most open guy ever. I remember the first time we went to one of their open practices, he had the whole team come around and greet every single media member, shake our hands and introduce ourselves. And I was like, that's how you run a program. You're open to the media, your players, understand what they're doing. Obviously, people don't love talking to the media sometimes, but it's a part of life, it's a part of your job. So just interacting with these players, getting their stories, hearing their stories. There's a play on Miami basketball. His name's Norchad Omier. He's the first Nicaraguan Division I basketball player ever. And I did a story about him, figuring out how he got to America and all this stuff, and it was just crazy. And she's like, getting to see these people's stories and where they come from and where they are now is probably, I'd say, my highest. And just being able to tell people these people's stories, it's just like, it's awesome to me.
I'm so glad you got a chance to talk about that, because I think with so many people now, with the internet trolls and just people on Twitter and Instagram, they don't really know what it's like being a sports reporter. And we had our friend Alex Martin on the show earlier in the summer, and he kind of took a deep dive of how you're kind of talking about it. And it's just really cool to hear a sports reporter side of the story, because we just see the news as fans. We don't really see the ins and outs. Now, I did some sports coverage throughout my time in college, but nowhere near on the level of you have throughout your time being a sports reporter. But it's just so interesting to hear the backstory, what really goes on behind the scenes, what Jim Larrañaga is like, what Mario Cristobal is like, what it's like being around the fans, and also working for one of the biggest universities in the world. So, what is it like working in one of the biggest sports markets in the world as Miami? Because you have the Dolphins, you have the Heat, you have the Hurricanes, so talk about that.
It's crazy. So yesterday, like I said, I mentioned I covered recruiting. So there was a few Miami recruits that were playing a high school game yesterday at Travis Powell Stadium. It was Miami Central versus Miami Northern. And on the sideline, you see Xavier Howard, from the Dolphins walking up and down, talking to these kids. You see Duke Johnson, former NFL running back, played at Miami, on the other sideline talking to these kids. So I feel like this entire market of Miami, or this whole area, is just kind of intertwined with each other one way or another. Obviously, like the Dolphins or people that played at these schools. Earlier this year, we saw Jaden Waller on the sideline. It's a whole bunch of things, and it's really, really interesting. Coming from Fort Myers, which is kind of a smaller market, not the biggest thing, and then just jumping into Miami. It's like how I describe it is very fast paced. Like things are moving 1,000 miles per hour for me. And that's something I kind of had to get used to. It's like, okay, let me slow myself down before I kind of get lost in all this mix of it. But it's amazing. We have Messi down here now, and some of the media members always joke about Mario Cristobal, when are you gonna get Messi in a game and things like that. So when Miami, the coaches say the best. When Miami, the teams are winning, there's nothing like Miami. And obviously, football teams winning a little bit, a big game, against North Carolina coming up. But just when the teams are winning, the energy is just different down here. And obviously, I heard that before. And until you're kind of in it and you're in the day in and day out talking to these guys, seeing how they move, seeing how they talk, it's really different energy down here when teams are winning and teams are doing well. So I love it so far.
It kind of goes back to, like, you're embracing it. You're here. You're in the Miami culture, the 305. You have Miami's been, a big market for years, like the Heat, the Dolphins. But when I think of it, kind of when you come here to visit, you think of the song Miami, Party in the City when the Heat is on. So I just kind of get that vibe. But that's super cool that, you've been able to, your first year out of college, work in one of the biggest sports markets in the world. So that's just amazing. So what do you do outside of, being a sports reporter? Like, what do you like to do in your free time? So
honestly, I just when I'm not working in sports, I kind of not watch sports, as odd as it sounds, because I'm surrounded by like sports 24/7. So whenever I'm not covering or working, I just go to the beach. Obviously, there's a ton of beaches here, so Fort Lauderdale, South Beach, everything. I've become like a beach junkie a little bit. I kind of love the beaches, chilling out there, hearing the waves. I did yoga on the beach the other day. It was my first time doing yoga, so I was like all zen'd up and all this stuff, and I was like, dude, I'm not as flexible as I thought. But just things like that, working out with friends. I have a few buddies from college that actually live in this area too, so going over their house, kicking and playing basketball, just simple things that I used to do when I was in high school to try to get away from, not stress, but like your work life, because obviously, you can't get consumed by what you do for work, or you're just going to, overdo yourself and burn out. And that's something I try to never do, is just burn myself out. If I ever get to that point, I'm just like, all right, let me close my computer, let me relax, because if I work when I'm like overthinking and things like that, I just get super repetitive, and I'm just like, I know I'm not putting my 100% into this, so let me just relax, close my MacBook, close my laptop, just go for a walk or something like that.
Recently on the show, in the past couple episodes, we've been trying to take a deeper dive into finding that healthy balance. How can I find that healthy balance in life? And for you, since you're my guest today, how do you find that healthy balance between sports and personal life and just outside things that you have going on? I know you said you like to go to the beach and like to do yoga and work out, but like, how do you really find that healthy balance? Like, what really makes you like, this feels so good, I'm balancing my life, I'm not super stressed about my work life and everything else going on?
So I think my biggest thing to kind of balance myself out is just talking to my friends. So that's something I always do, is like, if I'm ever stressed or anything like that, I'll just call one of my buddies and just catch up. Like, if it's not someone I spoke with within a year, I spoke with them yesterday. I just always like catching up with people, seeing how they're doing in life, checking up on them. That kind of makes me feel better, seeing how everyone else is doing, because obviously, you can't talk to every single person you've ever spoken to in your life or check up on every single one of your friends. But if I can reach out to one of my buddies, this week or another one the next week or something like that, that just makes me feel good to see, hey, how are you doing? Because I hope, sometimes I get that call too, hey, how are you doing? And when I get that call, I'm just like, man, I'm glad I have someone that actually cares about me, things like that. So I feel like me, kind of unwinding myself is kind of me not helping other people, just talking to other people and seeing how they're doing. So I feel like that kind of helps me balance out things, to see the other perspectives, see views from different angles and things like that.
That was a really good answer there. I'm so glad you kind of got a chance to tell everyone your healthy balance, finding your way. And I think like kindness is so important, right? Like how just the little things in life, just being like, just, you may, I don't know, you hold the door for somebody, or you may, let's just say in the media room, right? You grab somebody a water. Hey, I'll grab you a coffee. That could just change their entire day.
Exactly.
And just the little things in life. It doesn't always have to be the biggest things, right? It doesn't have to be the most expensive things, but just the small little things can change somebody's day.
Exactly.
You may have did that. You did that for somebody, and everything could just completely change for them. So I'm glad you got a chance to talk about that. But for the second half of the show, we've got to talk a little bit about sports, a little bit of pop culture, kind of just gonna know what's going on right now in the NFL. So the buzz right now in the NFL is the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
You're covering them. So what's the buzz around the city of South Beach, Miami, with the Dolphins? I mean, they're hot. They had the blunder against the Bills, but other than that, they've looked spectacular.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's just this whole year, South Florida sports has been, kind of on top or near the top. We have, the Florida Panthers, the Miami Heat. Now the Hurricanes, the Dolphins are doing really well. So it's awesome. The college basketball teams, the men went to the Final Four, the women went to Elite Eight. So just South Florida sports is buzzing, and I feel like the Dolphins are kind of the cherry on top with everything. Obviously, being kind of one of the bigger sports teams down here, the NFL team. So everyone's loving it. It kind of rubs off, like I mentioned. The energy just kind of flows around all the sports teams. If one sports team is doing good, then you see the next one, like, all right, these guys are keeping up. Let's keep it on going, keep on going. So it's amazing, and just the whole city just feels, a lot happier. And obviously, I wouldn't say, it affects the mood, like, oh, if a sports team is bad, but it really does help. If a sports team is winning, you see people smiling a little bit more. You see less people honking their horns in traffic and little things like that. But just the energy and the buzz around Miami when the teams are winning is just different. It's amazing.
Talking about the Dolphins, have you come across Tyreek Hill or any of the Dolphins players?
No, so the only one really is Xavier Howard and Jalen Waddle earlier this year, but not too much contact with them. But when I do meet them, I kind of, hey, how's everything going with them? They're real nice guys, real cool.
That's super cool. Did you see the Tyreek Hill story this week, where last week against the Giants he scored the touchdown and the fan tried taking the ball and Tyreek gave it to his mom? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and then he brought the dude another ball. Yeah. I saw that too. I was like, dude, Tyreek Hill is such an awesome guy for that.
Yeah, he gets a lot of hate, and I am not the biggest Tyreek Hill fan. I mean, he did talk trash about the Patriots, but I get it. It's sports. Everyone's going to have their opinions. Like, that's the thing, too. It's like, who cares, But it was really cool that he brought the ball. He brought the ball to a fan, autographed it for him, and the fan was just like in awe. He was like speechless. So I thought that was really cool. I really like when players give back to the fans, because at the end of the day, fans are the reason why the players, kind of go around. I mean, without the fans in the stadium, you're not selling any tickets.
Exactly. And that's kind of one thing I kind of realized too, like working within sports and things like that, because obviously I used to be a fan and rooting on these teams. I used to think, these guys are like, amazing superhero, like, oh, different people, but then you see them in person, you talk to them, these are just regular guys that
normal
are
guys,
really, really good at what they do. So that's one thing that a different perspective that I kind of picked up, and I'm like, wow, like this is completely different from looking from the outside in and kind of being around these people, day in and day out. It's like these are normal people that go home and do the same things that I do. So it's pretty cool seeing them not playing football or doing things like that, like Tyreek Hill did.
Like you said, it's a job for them, right? Like you're going to get criticized. Like if you're bad at your job, you deserve to be criticized. Yeah. I mean, some people, put them on they're amplified, they're on a huge level, a super high scale, but it also too, they're just people. Like if your performance isn't good, you're going to be graded on it. But you're just on a bigger scale. You're just on a global level. You don't play good, you're going to get judged.
Exactly.
That's the way it is. If you go into work and you don't make the correct report or you miss your timesheet, you're going to get told.
Toast.
So sorry, it's just the way it is. That's how it is. It's like a lot of them don't like the constructive criticism. Evan Neal recently, I don't know if you've seen how bad he's been playing for the Giants.
God.
He went out on went on Twitter and he was tweeting like, basically just kind of defended himself, and the fans were letting him have it.
Did you see the Jeudy thing with Steve Smith?
Yes, I did.
Goodness.
Dude, I was at work actually, West Coast Pacific time. The game started earlier over there, and a coworker kind of walked by me, and I told him, I said, "Did you see the Jeudy Steve Smith thing?" Izubee, I was irate when I saw that from Steve Smith.
That was awful.
Where does he have the business? And I don't understand why Steve Smith thinks he has the right. If a GM calls me, I'm going to tell him to not trade Jerry. Who are you?
That was so weird to me.
You're not in the NFL anymore, dude.
I was like, what type of weight does your
right?
Like do you hold? He was just talking trash to him. I'm like, as a reporter, as a journalist, as whatever, you have to be be
right?
professional. I feel like that was so unprofessional by his part. Obviously, I don't know the complete backstory if they have something going on behind there, but
yes,
you're on a national scale. You're one of the biggest NFL reporters in the country, and you're kind of just belittling and back. Obviously, he's not having the best start to his career. That happens. That's inevitable. Some things like that. But you can't just straight up bash on national TV like that and say, oh, if the GM calls me, you're not going to get traded to this team. It's like, come on, Steve Smith.
That really got me. I was just like, you're on a professional level. Like, you should be, just because you're Steve Smith doesn't mean that you're still not working your job for NFL Network. You know how many people would kill for that job that he has, and he goes and does that? And then a few weeks ago, Rodney Harrison was trying to bait Chris Jones into the question about Zach Wilson, like, he weird. Sucks. Or like Dante Whitner a few weeks ago, or actually recently about Dak Prescott, he just sucks. What happened to the analytical side of like judging a player off their play? He just sucks. Well, like, how do you expect to be taken seriously?
Yeah, and I love Chris Jones' response to that. He's like, no, don't say all that. Now, he's here for a reason. And, like, people forget, obviously, Zach Wilson, another guy, not having the best start to career, but second overall pick a couple years back. He's not in the best situation in New York, as, we obviously know. So, just that's something that I kind of don't like with reporting, just bashing a team or things like that. Because that even happened with Miami the other day after their loss. I'm not going to name any names, but there was a reporter for the Herald who was just bashing. I'm like, you wait till this happens to kind of air out the bag and say all this stuff, and it's just like, that's so weird. Like, I don't know. That's something that, as a reporter, that's one thing I really don't like. Is like you taking time out of your day to bash people when they're already at a low point. It's just like, come on now, you can do better than that. I'm
with you on that one too. And the last point I'll make about, oh geez, that sweat just got in my mouth. It's freaking hot out here. Jeez, Miami, man, they're going to heat this weekend. But no, the Steve Smith thing. Jerry Jeudy was behind him dancing too. Now for the other side of the coin, right? Sean Payton and the Broncos, they're not doing well. It's been very rough for them. If you're Sean Payton, right, and you're the Broncos head coach, you are the driver's seat of this organization for the football players. Where is the accountability? Why are you letting your players on the field dancing behind the set? Like, what, are we just completely like, oh, you can just go into a job and do whatever you want now?
Yeah, no.
That makes no sense.
Broncos country's not riding right
now.
No,
it's not. There's no Danger Rush. There's no Orange Crush. I mean, those jerseys are just, they're looking worse and worse by the day because there ain't no orange on those jerseys. They're looking dark. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That one really got me there. So, but Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, we got to talk about it. I cannot not talk about this. She was at the game again. So as an NFL fan, or being a reporter, being around the sports world, how do you feel about this whole and Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift at the game? Like, what do you think of it?
So at first I thought it was cool, and then I feel like every time I watch a Chiefs games, I'm getting more Taylor Swift time than actual game time. Obviously the NFL is capitalizing on the Swifties movement because before the Taylor, obviously I knew who Taylor Swift was, but I didn't understand like the power the Swifties had, and I saw some things on Twitter. I'm like, these people are not crazy. Please don't come after me, Swifties. These people are very involved and love Taylor Swift, and I was like, damn, she really has a strong fan base behind her. And I heard something's like a podcast with Swifties kind of learning football now.
New Heights podcast, Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. They have their own podcast. It's actually reached #1 in the world. We don't really talk about other podcasts on the shows, but I love this one, and it's so good. And Jason has been trying to like push it with Travis, and he's like, well, kind of try to keep it under the wraps, try to keep it. But in the last episode, they talked about it, and Jason was like saying there was Swiftie fans at the Rams-Eagles game. And Travis was like, but it's funny. And then also what they'll do is they'll answer questions on the show, and then they'll be like, Swiftie 1, 2, 3. What is man coverage, Travis or Jason? Or what is a slant route? Or Jason, what is this or that? So it's pretty funny.
Nah, Taylor Swift is
very powerful.
Yeah, she can do a lot of things with her fan base and whatever she has behind her. But it's pretty. I mean, it's cool that the NFL is embracing it, but I don't know if I can do it for the rest of the season. Every game, a Taylor Swift can be an honor. But it's cool. It's been cool so far.
It's been cool, like you said. I got tired of it at first, but I'm like, I expect her to be there. Exactly. So like I'm waiting. Like earlier in the week, I was like, is she going to be at the Broncos game? Travis is like up in the air to play. He's got the ankle injury he suffered against the Vikings. So like, is what's going on here? Actually, what's kind of funny is the Eagles and the Chiefs play this season in Philly. She's going to be on tour, so it's like remains to be seen if she's going to be at the Eagles-Chiefs game. If that happens, might as well just close your phones because the notifications will just flood through. The floodgates will be open. I know. Right. That one was for the Swifties. No, we're staying at this Airbnb, and there's a train that comes by every so often, so it feels like it's on a timer. But yeah, so talked a little bit about that. Let's talk about Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, Colorado. They were off to a great start to start the season, and now it's just kind of the watches are breaking slowly in Colorado. So let's talk about that. How are you feeling about Coach Prime in Colorado?
So obviously, with him being from Fort Myers, I'm kind of a homer, and I love to see him, succeed in things like that. And yesterday they blew a 29-point lead to Stanford, which was insane. But I like what he's doing over there. Honestly, a program that hasn't been relevant for forever since I started watching college football.
Yeah.
Colorado hasn't been anything. I think they had one good season, like 2017 and 2018. But with a program that's struggling like that, I feel like you need a guy like Deion Sanders to come in to bring some juice, bring some energy, and he's not only affecting the football program, but you see everyone in Boulder is happier. You see, the things that he does for the businesses around there and how he's helping those guys out in the economy and things like that. So I know it's easy to hate on Deion because ESPN or Bleacher Report, publishes him 6 to 7 times a day and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, I kind of look at a bigger picture. He's making a good change in the program. He's helping out the city of Boulder as well. So I think it's a win-win for them. Obviously, they're exceeding expectations a little bit this year. Obviously, now they're kind of, slipping up a bit, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. You overhaul an entire roster. Very hard to do in college football. So overall, I love what Deion's doing. I try to keep the homer aside, but I love what he's doing over there in Boulder.
I like what Deion's doing over there too, but I think a little bit needs to be under the wraps, right? Like, I don't think we need the big celebrities there and Shedeur doing the watch thing. I mean, you haven't won anything, Izubee. Mm-hmm. I think it's cool. It's great for the sport of college football, the NIL. I love Deion. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there needs to be some discipline involved, mm-hmm. right? Like the watch thing and the players doing this, and that's like guys, you haven't earned anything yet. Let's play, and then we can go as we learn, right? So, but yeah, last night's loss was bad.
God.
And even Deion said actually, he's like, we're trying to figure out here if I have players that love the game or not. And also a few weeks ago, he did say, he's like, well, we're not there yet. We're still missing the players, which is nice because he's kind of he's feeling that feel. But yeah, last night was just tough. Yeah. You can't blow that. I mean, that's just bad. Yeah. And then also too, during the game, supposedly Shedeur Sanders had his Instagram story. They put an Instagram story up during the middle of the game with his watch link or something. I was just like, dude, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That just looks bad on the program itself. Mm-hmm. You're the boss. You can't let that happen.
Yeah, no, those little slip-ups, that's one thing I was going to mention, too. It's kind of like, I feel like they're letting the media get to their head a little bit. Like you said, the watch thing and the logo thing and things like that. Obviously, that gets players hyped, but you got to back that up. And when you go to Oregon, you do that stuff, and then you get, blitzed by 55 points. It's just like, all right, you got to tone it down a little bit. It looks very bad, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The rest of their schedule is pretty hard.
Well, they're 4-3 now, so I mean, it would have been nice to be 5-2. Mm-hmm. You're feeling good. Yeah, you lost the 2 big ranked games, but you're still feeling better than you were. Last night was just a 29-point lead like that.
And how they lost too. It's just the same wide receiver, the same slant on Travis Hunter, his first game back. I was just like...
Did you see the touchdown that Stanford scored?
Yes.
It was they threw it over the top, and Travis Hunter was facing this way. Was basically facing this way.
Caught it like this.
Yeah, he caught it right over his helmet. I was just
gosh.
I mean, that's just tough.
Yeah, that was a cherry on top. That's all right.
That's tough.
Upset time.
Pac-12 defense, though, man, it's like these late West Coast weird, wonky games, and there's no defense.
Yeah, no, it reminds me like the Big 12 a couple years ago when Oklahoma was putting up 70 points on everybody. It's just like Pac-12 at night. It's 2 a.m. over here. It's midnight over there. It's like, all right, defense, forget about it. Let's just run up the scores. But
exactly.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do the rest of the year, man.
It will be. For college football this season, I haven't really seen a dominant team.
No.
I mean, Georgia looked dominant against Kentucky last weekend. They're playing Vanderbilt right now. But other than that, I haven't really seen a whole lot. Michigan, they look good. I really like USC, but they don't have any defense.
Zero.
Every time I watch Caleb Williams, Izubee, I am flying out of my seat.
Yeah.
You have to glue me down because if not, I'm going here and I'm going. I mean, he's just amazing to watch.
No,
I freaking love him.
I was watching the game last weekend versus Arizona in overtime, and he had the score, and I was just like, you literally can't stop him. There was mathematically the angles, nothing, and then he just makes 1-2, and then he scores, and I'm just like, this kid is amazing. I hate
to compare other players to other players, right? But for me, it gives me Mahomes all over again.
1,000%.
If you put a mask over both of them, I couldn't tell you the difference. Caleb's ability to create is just unreal. Like he'll drop back in the pocket, he'll roll out, and his ability to create is just, it gives me like Mahomes. Mahomes against the Broncos on Thursday night, he had a kind of similar thing. He rolls out, he waited for Travis Kelce, he was kind of he ran like a stick route, kind of like waiting in the soft spot in the zone, and he just completely like destroyed the defense. Caleb does the same thing, rolls out, looks, creates. It's like it's special.
Stands there, waits. His old lineman are blocking.
So
he makes
good,
a move,
man.
and then it's just different arm angles. He's throwing the ball. It's just like this kid is like a generational talent.
This is actually a really good one here. Caleb Williams was brought up by an NFL GM. He said Caleb Williams would have gone ahead of Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert in both the 2020-2021 draft. I think he would have. I really think Caleb Williams, if he was in that position, he would have gone ahead of all those quarterbacks.
I 100% agree. And one of my buddies, like I mentioned, I called my friend just to check up on them. We were talking about that yesterday on my car ride over here. And he's like, no, he's not as good as him. I was like, I don't know. It's pretty close, and I'm giving it to Caleb Williams because, just like you said, what he does running the ball, he's an excellent runner. What he does passing the ball, excellent pass. He's like, obviously, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence had great arms, but they're not as elusive and they're not making moves like he can.
Yep.
So it's just like you combine those two, and he's a good leader too. He's been doing this since he was a freshman at Oklahoma. He's proven he's done it 2 different places. So you can't say, oh, it's just the school he's at. He's proven it. He's won the Heisman. I think he's gonna win the Heisman again.
I think so too.
So I have to give it to me. I think at where they were all at the same point in their careers, I think Caleb Williams is better than Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow.
I think at this point, Joe Burrow won a national title, Trevor Lawrence won, but I think Caleb just pound for pound is better. Mm-hmm. I think if you put Caleb Williams in the NFL right now, I think he'd be just as good, if not better. It's just his raw talent is insane. When you watch him, put on the tape, and he just flies off your screen how good he is. He had that play against Colorado a couple weeks ago. He kind of rolled out, he waited. The receiver was Taj Washington. He was kind of running a route like this. The linebacker kind of completely missed him, and Taj just completely took off. Caleb zipped it over the top. I was like, dude,
this kid's special.
We'll see you on Sundays, Caleb.
Yeah.
So, it's just been remarkable to see. But I think, though, on the other side of the coin, Michael Penix will have something to say about the Heisman this year because Oregon plays Washington today, but Washington is going to play USC here in a few weeks, and that could be the deciding factor for the Heisman.
No, that's going to be big. And another thing that I realized just looking around college football, most of the top quarterbacks are transfers, and the transfer portal is crazy because Shedeur transfer, Caleb Williams transfer, Michael Penix transfer, Bo Nix transfer, Sam Hartman transfer. Most of the major programs, Quinn Ewers from Texas transfer. Most of these big time programs. Yeah. If you're not grabbing a guy out the portal, man, it's not good. Well, it's working. But Penix is a guy that I watched a little bit when he was at Indiana a couple years ago, and I was like, this dude is special. He goes out to Washington. He's on a bigger scale now. He has a better team, and he's showing the whole country. So he's the guy that I really like. I'm going to be real interested to see how things go against Oregon.
Last point I'll make here. He got a massive NIL deal with Adidas a week ago. That was crazy when I saw that.
These kids are making, I said kids like I'm not the same age. These guys in college are making so much money. Yes. And just hearing about these deals and just hearing these numbers, it's just like, if I knew this would happen, I'd have dedicated my life to sports since I came out the womb because these kids are making, almost millions. Some are making millions. Almost all of them making 6 figures, multiple deals. It's crazy. Bronny
James is making, I think, $6 million this year. Livy Dunn is at $4 million. Caleb, I think, was in the 5 ballpark. Travis Hunter was up there as well. It's and then Caleb Williams is deciding, him and his dad are if he wants to stay or not. I think he'd be foolish to stay in college football another year. He's probably going to win the Heisman this year. Imagine another year next year. I think he should just go to the NFL. But I didn't really understand that because they were he was trying to pick what team he wanted to go to, have your cake and eat it too. Mahomes got lucky. Who knows if he would have been in the situation if he didn't get fall into the laps of Andy Reid but I think you got to go. Yeah. I think who knows? You get injured in college football. Yeah. Yes, you're making the NIL money, but nothing like NFL money.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. When I first heard that, when they're like, oh, if the situation's not right, we might stay back here. I was like, at that point, when is the situation ever going to be right for the first overall pick?
Exactly.
So just, have a victory lap, finish out your junior year and just go, man. Because like you said, you never know what can happen with injuries.
Never know.
Something like that. And God forbid anything does happen, but if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm packing it up after this year, taking my talents to the league.
I'm packing it up in SoCal, and I'm heading to whatever team. Right now, could be the Cardinals, could be the Bears. No, it's not going to be the Patriots, I wish. But anyway, so I briefly wanted to talk about food on the episode, kind of, your takes and see how you're feeling. What's some, cool food spots in Miami that, you have gotten into here just being here?
So there's a rooftop spot. It's not in Miami. It's in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Rooftop. And
Oh,
they
wow.
have like the best appetizers and drinks I've ever had in
Really?
my life. And I recently started getting into sushi a little bit because I used to never like sushi. They have the best spicy tuna rolls I've ever had. Obviously, I've probably had like 2 spicy tuna rolls.
Yeah.
I don't like sushi, but those are some of my favorite things. But there's a lot of hole in the walls here and little food trucks. That's a big thing down here. If you go in Wynwood, late night snacks, it's the best thing after you know, a night out with your buddies. Unwind, hit a food truck, and just enjoy it and just dig in. But there's a lot of spots down here that are like, you just see and you're like, whoa, what's this all about? You go in. I had schnitzel for the first time.
What's that?
It's I believe it's a Jewish food. It's like some type of chicken. One of my friends brought me there because North Miami has a lot of Israeli and Jewish spots, and I was like, I'll try it out. But schnitzel is something that I really like, and I tried out. That was interesting. That I didn't think I'd like.
Safe to say you'll be trying it again.
Yeah, for sure.
So going to Rooftop, right? What are we talking here? Is it draining the bank account? Like, how are we feeling? Is it an expensive night? Like, am I like, oh gosh, this is gonna be a rough one?
It's not anything crazy, but it's not like something where you can go every single day and enjoy their food, you know. It's gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna save this for a little special occasion, you know, a little celebratory, you know, drink or something like that. But obviously everything in Miami is just like inflated like crazy. Like everywhere you go, they're charging an arm and a leg for something. But it's good food, it's good service. So you're paying for, you know, what you're getting. But you know, Rooftop isn't a spot I'll be, you know, every single Wednesday or Thursday or Friday for a weekly thing.
Living in LA, I can totally, you know, relate to the inflation of the prices and stuff. So like, when we're talking like how expensive, like, is it really, really expensive here too? Because I don't live here, so I don't really know.
It just turned green. Like, give me a break. I mean, Fort Myers, I feel like when I go back there, I'm just like, thank God I don't have to, you know, worry about this traffic or these insane drivers. So I definitely have to give it to Miami with the traffic. It's 10 times worse than Fort Myers. Being
on the go, are you like throughout your life and just being here in Miami, like just so much is going on for you? A coffee drinker?
I just started drinking coffee. I like literally, I think 4 days ago, I started drinking cold brew. My friend JP, shout out to JP if he sees this. He gave me, I think it was literally on Monday. He's like, try this. I was like, what is this? I don't like coffee. He's like, just try this. He had to convince me like 10 minutes going back and forth. He's like, just try this. It's gonna give you energy for the rest of the day. I was like, bro, it's stupid. I try it, I feel like a new man. So like, I think I'm addicted to cold brew after 2 days of drinking. Just
a slight addiction.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Slight. I mean, it gets my day started for me because obviously, you know, no one, you know, loves waking up super early unless you're wired a little bit different. But you know, I'm kind of drowsy in the mornings, you know, blah blah blah. But I took the cold brew. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So
you get that morning coffee feeling, and you just feel like a complete new man. You're like, I'm lining up next to Tyreek Hill on the track. I'm gonna beat Tyreek
Hill.
Like I'm taking off the sports reporter clothes, and we're lining up on the track.
Gives me a lot of cold brew is a very, very big confidence booster.
So you haven't had hot coffee yet then?
No, I don't like coffee at all.
Dang, so just cold brew for you?
Just cold brew. Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I used to try coffee, but I used to put so much sugar and like creamer in it. It tastes like hot cocoa. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done with this.
I actually, on the last episode, we talked about coffee briefly, and my coffee order is just the blandest coffee order. It's 3 creams, 3 sugars. It's nothing fancy. That's it. It's just because, like, being from up north, like New England, Rhode Island area, my whole family up there, it's always Dunkin' Donuts, 3 creamers, 3 sugars, extra cream, extra sugar. Nothing fancy. Now there's all these like oat milks and lattes and chai lattes and this and that, and I'm like, just give me the 3 creams, 3 sugars.
That's simple. There's one, I don't consider this coffee. It's like a double chocolate chip frappuccino. Oh, okay. I've had that before. I don't know if you consider that coffee, but it's another cold one. I've had that a few times. It's good, but actual coffee, cold brew is like my thing now.
Yeah, you know, I just think it's like it's the flavors, I guess, too. Actually, recently at work we had the pumpkin spice, like the Starbucks. So they got us the creamer. I fell in love with it.
Pumpkin. I've never had any pumpkin.
It's
good.
Good.
Been a fan of pumpkins.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a pumpkin guy.
Not a pumpkin guy. I've never bought into the hype with October. Everyone's like, pumpkin season's back. I'm like, it's not.
You're not a big coffee drinker, but I have a really embarrassing coffee story I have to share with you.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so sometimes I can be an idiot, but last weekend at my apartment, we had, like, I still had, like, the coffee grinder, right? And I bought, you know what a milk frother is?
No.
So it's like, it's stuck off Amazon, you just, like, froth the milk or, like, froth the coffee. It's like, you ever seen, like, those, like, green juices and you just click the frother?
Thing goes,
yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
So my dumbass self, what I did was I took the coffee grinders, right, and I put it into a coffee cup, and I put the frother, and I tried to do that and threw some ice in there, thinking it was going to blend the coffee.
That's just...
It's just, dude, it was disgusting. I thought, I was like, oh, like, it'll make some coffee. No. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah. I told a friend of mine, they were like, Joey, I can't defend you on that one. I don't even know what you were thinking. They were like, no wonder why it was disgusting. I said, yeah, I tried to throw ice in there, tried to make it like iced coffee, but like, I didn't have a coffee maker, so like, that's why it didn't work out.
I can't imagine how that would have tasted.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I had one sip, and I was like...
Yeah, no, I'm tossing that.
I threw it away, so... Yeah, but briefly before we wrap up, do you want, like, are you into like TV shows at all or not? No.
Not really. I'm trying to think. I usually watch documentaries. I need to start watching TV a little bit more because I hear like about good shows. Like a buddy of mine started watching like Power and
That's good.
Suits.
Succession is really good on HBO Max.
Yeah, I need to start watching more shows. If anyone has recommendations or anything like that, shoot them my way.
I could give you some. Succession is really good. The Morning Show on Apple TV is really good. There's some good Netflix documentaries. I haven't seen the new Beckham documentary on Netflix, the soccer one with David Beckham.
I haven't seen that.
They just dropped that. That one's really good. There's some pretty good shows out there. It's just finding the time.
I watched Quarterback for a little bit.
Yes, that was good too.
That was very good, but
that one kind of made me change my perspective on the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like you kind of really took a deep dive. We really got to see Mahomes was really cool. Mariota was cool. The whole Mariota story. Kirk Cousins, that was awesome. Now they're trying to see if there's going to be a season 2.
That would be interesting. That would be definitely something I'd tune in.
But before we wrap up, I did want to give you the chance to, kind of share this. I always like to ask my guests before we do the 5 questions, is there something that you would like to get off your chest or something that you've been feeling lately that somebody could maybe take with them from this podcast, maybe looking back 5-10 years, or just something that could, really maybe change somebody's life? So what's something that you would like to share?
Just take risk, honestly. Take that leap of faith if there's something that you want to get into or a hobby that you have or something that you really want to try and you're kind of skeptical about or you don't think it's going to work out or anything like that. Just do it because you don't want to, like you said, look back 5 years ago and think, damn, I wish I did this or damn, I wish I tried this or damn, I quit my job to try to pursue that. And obviously, like I said, you never know what's going to happen. It could be a home run or it could be a strikeout, but as long as you gave it your all, tried it, that's the best thing you can do for yourself, honestly. So, and if that was my one thing to tell people, just take that leap of faith. Try it. You never know what will come out of anything. That's amazing. I have a quote that I always stand by: you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Exactly. Keep going forward. Don't look that way. Keep going. I just think that's super important. Who cares what everyone else thinks? Exactly. They're not going to like what you. Haters are going to hate. Mm-hmm. They just fuel you at the end of the day. And until you're big and blowing up, that's when people are going to start, oh, hey, what's going on? Yep. I love what you see. But at the beginning, everyone thinks it's funny. Everyone will kind of joke, oh, what's this guy doing? He's man, just at the end of the day, no one has you more than yourself. So just put faith in yourself and just go at it head first. If you weren't there when the ticket sales were low, we don't want you a part of it now. Exactly. You weren't on the train when we had one person with us, and now we have 100. See you later. Exactly. Just like the doors closing. Just like the bandwagon thing in football, man. If you're not on the bandwagon now, don't be with us when we're in the Super Bowl lifting up the trophy. Give them the Tyreek Hill peace sign. Exactly. So, as always, 5 questions for you to end the show. Excuse me. So, my first question for you is, who inspires you? Who inspires me? I think for a long time, my inspiration for what I did for my job was Stuart Scott. He's an old ESPN journalist. He passed away, but recently, someone that inspired me was Dwayne Jackson, Oops on Mission. He's a guy that we both know. Just how he just gives back to the community and tries to uplift everyone. It's just so kind and, welcomes everyone with open arms. And, working with him, that's how I got my job first at USA Today. So he's a guy that I've kind of been looking up to as a role model because he's a guy that, came from, nothing to building up, Hoops on Mission to be one of the biggest nonprofit organizations in Southwest Florida in general, just how he carries himself, he's a family guy and all that stuff. So that's someone, I really look up to and inspires me. That's a great one there. Shout out to Dwayne. We've been trying to get him on the podcast this summer. We were trying to work out the details of his schedule and stuff, but hopefully we'll get him on. We'll do it in person. But question 3 for you is number 2, my apologies. What is a funny story that you can share from your family? What's a funny story? Funny story. Oh my, this is crazy. So when I was younger, this is gonna sound wild, I used to to run across the street when cars were about to come, crazy. It was the worst. It was the worst thing ever. I used to want cheap thrills, so I'd be all right, car's coming, I'm gonna start running. And then one day I almost got smacked, and I was like, I don't think this is for me anymore. It was the weirdest thing ever. But my mom was like, you have to stop this, or you're gonna get hit by a car. I was like, I don't care. I just kept doing it over and over and over again. So that was one of the bad things that I did when I was a kid. I'm glad I cut that out, but that's like a weird funny story that I think tell people about when I was younger.
That's a funny one. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully working in a big market, whether it be down here in Miami, New York, LA, just in sports, something to do with sports, because since I was younger, I've always, wanted to play sports or be around sports. So whether it's journalism, whether it's working for a team, whether it's something, just somewhere in sports in a big market, just doing what I love.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve? People that lie for no reason. That just grinds my gears, just out of the blue. Just tell the truth, man. The truth is always the best thing. So people that like to lie is kind of my biggest thing that irks me.
If you could tell your 18-year-old self, what is one thing you would tell yourself?
That's a good one. Stop procrastinating. That's something I kind of still deal with now. I tried to kick that habit a long time ago. Just stop procrastinating. When you have something you need to do it, put it in the past, and move forward. So, message to 18-year-old Izubee in 2017, going into college, stop procrastinating, get your work done. Don't oversleep, don't miss your science class at 7 a.m., all that good stuff.
And where can listeners find you?
On X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Izubee Charles, Izubee Charles, Charles. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook if you want to Facebook me. LinkedIn, same thing, just my name. That's where you guys can find me.
Well, Izubee, it was a pleasure to have you on today's show. Our second time getting you
Yes.
on. We got a chance to hear about your career as a Miami Hurricane sports reporter, working with the basketball team, the football team, a little bit about the NFL and how you balance your life with healthy balance of being a fan before and now as a reporter, hearing the ins and outs. It was just great to have you on. It was just amazing, man. It's just awesome.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Joy, man. Hopefully we get another 50 episodes in and we'll do like a 150 or something like that
Honestly.
down the road.
Well, guys, this was episode 77. You know where to find us, the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. It was a pleasure as always. Got a chance to record in Miami, our very first time recording in Miami. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep pushing. And guys, stay tuned for next episode. And next Saturday, you're going to want to tune in. Izubee, thank you so much for coming on. We will see you next time. Let's go!